Welcome to Man Unfiltered, space where we have real conversations about healing, pressure, growth, masculinity, purpose, faith, and all the things that people carry in silence. See, a lot of people walk around looking strong on the outside while privately fighting battles that no one sees. And I think sometimes we get so used to surviving that we forget what healing even looks like. So today, we're talking about the weight that we carry. So, the weight that we carry, right? I think that one of the heaviest things a lot of men carry is the pressure to appear strong. We have to appear strong. That's in our DNA. This is what we're told, right? Because a lot of us growing up, we hear things like, man up, stop crying, handle it, right? And that's what we do, right? We man up, we stop crying, we handle it. But over time, you learn how to suppress those emotions instead of process those emotions, right? You learn how to keep moving even when you're mentally exhausted. And yes, men do get mentally exhausted, right? You become the person everybody depends on. You become that person. But sometimes nobody checks on the person carrying everybody else. You don't get the phone calls. You don't get a simple text message asking if you're having a good day or is everything okay? Do you need anything? And after a while, being strong, it stops feeling empowering. It starts feeling heavy. Some people only love the version of you that keeps producing. They only love the version of you that keeps providing. They only love the version of you that keeps performing. But nobody talks about what constantly carrying responsibility does to someone's mental. That mental state, it becomes silent struggles, right? A lot of people are silently struggling right now with plenty of things. People are struggling with anxiety. People are struggling with stress, overthinking. People are struggling with depression. People are struggling with loneliness. But the scariest part about that is these people, they hide it really well. You can smile in public and still feel emotionally drained in private. Being out and about surrounded by people, but you still feel alone mentally, that's that silent struggle. I think that sometimes people become so focused on surviving life that they never stop to ask themselves, am I actually okay? And that's the question. Am I actually okay? You know, a lot of strong people suffer quietly because they don't want to feel like a burden to anybody else, right? A lot of strong people, a lot of men struggle with that part because we don't want to put our problems on someone else because we know everyone's struggling already. You know, everyone's carrying weight already. So we deal with it, you know. So we carry everything internally, which is fine to that point where eventually that emotional weight starts to affect everything around us. And I mean everything. So when those things start to affect us, that's when we become, or that's when we tend to mask up, right? We tend to put that mask on, you know, the emotional mask people wear every day, you know. And that mask is you learn how to say I'm good automatically, even when you're not, you know. You put your problems aside, you laugh, you know, you post online like everything's fine. But deep down inside, things are heavy, right? You go to work, you handle your responsibilities, but internally, you're exhausted. And of course, after a while, that pretending, that masking becomes normal. You stop expressing what you actually feel because vulnerability, that starts to feel dangerous, you know. You don't want to show that you wear your heart on your sleeve, right? Some people are scared that if they open up, they're going to be judged. And we know that the world is cruel. Some are scared that nobody would care. Some are scared of looking weak. Remember, we have to appeal strong. So instead, we tend to carry everything. But we still tend to bury those emotions. You know, we tend to bury those emotions. You know, they don't disappear. They just build pressure. They just keep building and building. And at some point, we have to start healing from that. At some point, we have to express how we feel. You know, we have to start that healing journey. We have to start that growth, you know. And honestly, I think, you know, Healing does start with honesty. Healing does start with honesty. You know, being honest about what hurt you, being honest about what drains you, also being honest about what you've been carrying emotionally. That's the main part. You know, saying that I'm okay and actually being okay. You know, but the thing about that is that healing doesn't mean that you're suddenly become perfect. It means that you just stop pretending. You stop saying I'm okay. You stop saying I'm fine. I can get through it. You know, it means you finally stop pretending. And you know, for some people, the healing that looks like prayer. You know, that's the main thing, prayer. For some, it's therapy. Having somebody to talk to that has a different perspective and an opinion, you know, because we still worry about being judged by our circle, by the people that are closest to us. So it's okay to go out and get the help, you know. And for some, that healing looks like discipline. It looks like grabbing a journal and writing, you know, even rest. Take the time to rest. You know, healing looks like accountability, or even learning how to communicate better. But the thing is, whatever healing looks like to you takes courage. Because facing yourself honestly, that's the hard part. Looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm okay, and actually meaning it, that's the hard part. And I think that people need to hear this more, that you can be strong and still need healing. You can be strong and still need healing. And in closing today's episode, man, I just want you to know that if you've been carrying life quietly, man, you're not alone. You know, a lot of people are trying to stay strong by silently fighting these battles that they have with themselves. And maybe healing doesn't start with having all the answers, but maybe it starts with finally being honest about the weight that you've been carrying. But this is Black Man Unfiltered. Real voice, real truth, real growth.